Ganesha Sharanam, Sharanam Ganesh, Ganesha Sharanam, Sharanam Ganesh, Ganesha Sharanam, Sharanam Ganesh, Ganesha Sharanam, Sharanam Ganesh. So, of course, Ganesh is known for being the remover of obstacles. Um, so, for any of us experiencing obstacles in our life right now, and I joke, of course, because we are all either in a fiasco or waiting for the next one to happen, right? We're all destined to, come up against obstacles, difficulties, resistances, miscommunications, all the sort of beautiful chaos of life, right? So Patanjali identifies the various forms of thought that can exist. He categorizes 5 forms of thought, one of which is smriti, which means memory. And all of these categories of thought, they can either be painful or not painful. So we can easily check that with our own experience. Memories can be painful or not painful. Clear as day. Easy definition to check. So another moment in the Yoga Sutras where memory comes up is towards the end in chapter 4, when Patanjali identifies the fact that both both thoughts about the future, which haven't happened yet, and thoughts about the past, which are already gone, the thought itself is occurring in the present moment. When I'm thinking about the future, the thought is still in the present. When I'm thinking about the past, that particular memory of the past is in the present moment. And psychologists have shown us that our present memory is influenced by our present state of thought, right? So our present mind influences the way in which the image of a particular memory comes up. So how can we use this in our practice, and how can we use this for overcoming obstacles? So one suggestion is kind of when you're in the midst of something that feels insurmountable, that feels like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get over this. It can help to think back to another time in which your good inherent qualities, your inner fortitude, your patience, your strength, your ability to rely on your community for support, your ability to self-soothe, like all these different qualities helped you make it through the last time, right? And even some of those qualities which are in development currently, right? Maybe we haven't got all those qualities yet, and yet we're developing those qualities as we run through the gauntlet of life, right? I think about, times in sort of maybe high school or junior high when like everything felt like a dire emergency. Something would happen with your crush or with a teacher or with a parent or with a friend, and it would feel like, oh my God, my life is ending. I will not survive this. I cannot survive this. Nothing will ever be the same. I'll never recover from this. And it's only because we've had so very few experiences comparatively that sort of as we go on and as we sort of weather other difficulties, we build sort of a trust in ourselves, potentially, we can build a trust within ourselves that we will have the strength and the courage and the wherewithal to make it through. So that can be very helpful in the context of our yoga practice. Also, I did want to mention how important memory is to yoga practice itself. Imagine imagine if you couldn't remember any of the instructions for meditation, and you sort of start meditation all over again from square one every single time. It would be very hard to deepen your experience and your relationship with meditation. Same with the asanas, right? It would be very challenging to do yoga for the very first time every single time you came to your yoga practice. So part of the practice is kind of like embodying what you're learning every time and then carrying that forward into the next class, so that as you develop like more and more subtle and nuanced experience of, say, triangle, that then you carry that experience, you carry that learning forward into your yoga practice. Funny story, I've never taken much Ashtanga practice, but it just so happens that a studio where I teach has just added a Ashtanga program. So I was taking a couple of lead primary classes, and I was enjoying it, although it's quite challenging. I was enjoying the challenge of it. And, one day I arrived to the studio a bit early for the class I was going to teach. And the teacher sees me out in the hall and says, Jessica, come in. You have time to practice. Try some Mysore with us. And I'm like, oh God, I've never really done Mysore. I've never really, okay, I'll try. And he's like, yes, come. So I start off on my mat and I'm like, uh-oh, I don't think I'll be able to remember it. And the irony of not being able to remember the Ashtanga sequence, when in fact I write sequences every single week, and then I have to remember the sequence I've written, and I remember sequences that I've written from 10 years ago, and I still remember class 6 and 7 from however many years ago. So I remember a tremendous number of sequences. And then when I finish sun salutation, I'm sort of standing there scratching my head like, what in the heck comes next in the sequence? And the teacher comes over and is like, hold your toes, hands under your feet. And I could not believe, of all the things I couldn't remember, Padangusthasana and Padahastasana came next, because I often build that very element into my sequences as well. So of all the things, I should remember that comes next. But anyway, it's a very interesting exercise in memory to see if you can remember the sequence as the practitioner, and with the intention of self-guiding. And in fact, that, I'm speaking to the teachers mostly now, that could be a very interesting thing to work with this month. In fact, David and Sharon and I and other teachers used to much more frequently teach sun salutations, for example, in a way where you teach the sun salutation and then you let people experience the vinyasa on their own, which means that there's a few minutes where they are self-guiding, or perhaps sort of following the people around them, but in other words, having to rely on oneself to remember as much of the sequence as possible. It can be an interesting experiment and might be something to tie in with your yoga classes this month around the subject of memory, smriti. Stick around and I'll give you the chords for the chant at the beginning. Ganesha Sharanam, Sharanam Ganesh, Ganesha Sharanam, Sharanam Ganesh.
Sharanam Ganesh,